Let's turn to another thing that Bernie Sanders did. At George Mason University, Bernie Sanders made a call and has basically come out, and I believe he is out in front of every major candidate in any of the two parties at this point, and ones that have any shot at a nomination, in calling for essentially what amounts to the federal decriminalization of marijuana. Let's hear what he said at George Mason University.
In 2014, the latest statistics that I have seen, there were 620,000 arrests for marijuana possession. That is one arrest every minute. According to a report by the American Civil Liberties Union, there were more than 8 million marijuana arrests in the United States from 2001 to 2010. Almost 9 in 10 of those arrests were for possession. Arrests for marijuana possession rose last year nationwide, even as Colorado, Washington, Oregon, Alaska, and the District of Columbia became the first states to legalize personal use of marijuana. And let us be clear, as is the case in many other areas, that there is a racial component to this situation. Although about the same proportion of blacks and whites use marijuana, a black person is almost 4 times more likely to be arrested for marijuana possession than a white person. Too many Americans have seen their lives destroyed because they have criminal records as a result of marijuana use. That is wrong. That has got to change.
Okay, and with that, he announced essentially that he believes that marijuana should be removed from the list of schedule or basically most dangerous drugs that are outlawed by the federal government. As you know, there's like a schedule, and Martin O'Malley has called for putting marijuana on the Schedule 2, a less strict designation. But by removing it from this list, what Sanders is saying is that states are free to legalize or decriminalize marijuana. They are free to provide for medical marijuana use. And more important, maybe not necessarily more importantly, but equally as important, they are now allowing for sanctioned studies to happen with federal grants and basically allowing labs to do studies without fear of being raided and arrested for doing those studies, where marijuana can actually help people with a myriad of medical problems, and also to lead to the regulation of the production of marijuana byproducts that help people with things like epilepsy. We had Elizabeth Brunig on the program, I guess about 3 weeks ago, to talk about that dilemma, that parents who have found a drug that can actually help their kids, how hard it is for them to source it and to make sure they're getting what they think they should be getting.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're hitting on everything right now, and there's a lot of things that go into this, but I'm going to try to sort of summarize it quickly in a couple minutes. I mean, when you're talking about the war on drugs, and I mean, it's pretty clear what a failure that's been. I mean, you don't need to sit here. All you need to look at research, look at studies, and look at science, and know specifically, if you're talking about marijuana, that having that listed and treating that in the same manner as addictive, drugs that kill people, drugs like heroin and others that are epidemics, is just insanity. And so, the number of those states moved forward that he mentioned, and I'm completely in support of what Bernie's doing. Here in Ohio, something that I've been an evangelist for as much as I am on gun safety and things like that. We're having a vote on Tuesday, and we don't even have medicinal in Ohio. This measure will give us both medicinal, and it will also allow personal use. And It's, the usual suspects on the right came out against it. They put a poison pill amendment. We got all the signatures, got it on the ballot, and then the legislature, led by the right wingers in there, put a poison pill amendment on there to try to trick people. And so we're doing what we can to make sure everybody knows. But sadly, we've also had a group of people on the left who've opposed it and screamed and yelled about it and said, well, because they're limiting it to 10 farms here, that somehow that's a monopoly or something of that sort, which is ridiculous, because I just changed my phone company the other day for my cell phone, and I had like 2 choices. You know what I mean? Whereas
Right.
this sets up 10 competing farms, and the thing is the people who have the funds are always going to be people. If it wasn't done this way, you'd have a bidding process, and guess who would get in? And you need a lot of investment to start those farms. So that people are harping on that over the fact that this immediately stops us. The ACLU is for this and pointed out how in 2012 we put 14,000 people in jail, hugely disproportionately African American, in the state of Ohio for possession of pot. It led to, obviously a number of cases where we've had police shootings. They've stopped somebody because they smelled pot in their car. That would stop happening. We've got cases, my wife went to high school with someone here, and her daughter, her name's Nicole Nazarene, her father were not bad the other day. Their daughter, as you pointed out, has a terrible case of epilepsy, sometimes 30 seizures a day. These other medicines literally maybe lower that by like 2. Well, when she uses medicinal marijuana, it lowers it to the point where she may have 2 seizures a day. And her dad has come out and said, we don't have the resources to move from here like some people to Colorado, so it's one of 2 choices. You either legalize this or we're going to be criminals, because I will not deny my daughter what she needs. And I can give you more and more cases.
And it's not just that. He can't be sure what he's getting. He can't
there's
be
that
sure.
too. I mean, look, I'm going to what I think are, to me, the most compelling aspects of this. But of course, you don't know what you're getting. It used to be they'd mix PCP in there. You didn't know what was going on. The violence and black market that surrounds it. The fact that by legalizing this, we've already had, to go back to John Kasich, who got up and bragged about all he'd done economically the other night. Well, he was able to cut those taxes for those rich people because he starved all localities of our funds. He took them away from us. So to get those funds back for our police and fire departments, for the damn potholes in the road, right? Pot for potholes is one of the things people are calling it. This sets it up so that 85% of the funds will go to localities, the taxes on this, and that's another reason the state legislature is pissed, because they'd probably like to get their hands on that. Right. So, it's important that way. It creates thousands of jobs. I can go on and on with the benefits of this, but that we've taken this thing that originally was legalized out of racism. You can go back and listen to the old commercials from William Randolph Hearst talking about black men smoking pot and wanting white women. Just all the ridiculousness you can imagine. And that we've kept this in the place where it is, and we've ruined so many lives, and it has so many detrimental effects on our society. So, you're never going to win over the right-wingers, but, anybody who's listening who knows people in Ohio, has relatives in Ohio, has friends here, or lives here, and votes here. We've been asking long before I got here. They've been asking the state legislature for medicinal since 1998, and it's never once gotten out of committee. The reason why these wealthy investors who are going to have these farms had to put up money for a campaign was because it cost millions. Ohio's the size of Alaska, Oregon, and Washington put together, 3 of the 4 other pot legalized states. So this is expensive. It's not quite New York, but it's a lot like that. You need money to run a campaign. And so is it perfect? No. Is this by far the answer? That anybody on the left would say, well, it's not perfect, so we're going to stop it from happening, with all the people's lives that it helps. I just hope people understand. So really, my final message is, if you want to help people who need the medicinal, if you want to get people out of prison, if you want to have the tax money, and make sure people aren't being sold stuff that is dangerous for them, if you want to, help take down the black market and at least put a little bit more of a dent in the war on drugs, this is the way you do it. And what you have to do is you have to vote no on issue 2, which is the poison pill, and you have to vote yes on issue 3. So it's no on 2, yes on 3, and that's on Tuesday here. And then we'll have, the last thing I'll say is, what we'll have out of that? We'll have by far the biggest state, the 7th biggest in the country, will have legalized, one in a much more conservative Midwest than the much more libertarian, liberal West. The presidential candidates coming in here will have to speak on this issue the way Bernie just did. The others will have to give their opinions, and it'll be like gay marriage. Ohio could literally be a tipping point, because you've got 5 other states that have it on the ballot in 16. Whereas if it goes down, it's a setback. So I implore people to look at the positives of this and vote no on 2 and yes on 3.
All right, let's just move on just briefly because we're way over time, obviously, and everybody here is about to pass out. But
I know this is becoming like the Republican CNN debate.
I know, it's crazy. You should have pre-negotiated with me, like Donald Trump did.